Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. It is Thursday, February 11th, 2016, and I'm Leanne McAdoo. Here's what's coming up tonight.
Tonight,
ISIL's leaders are determined to strike the U.S. homeland, beyond inspiring homegrown violent extremist attacks.
the intelligence community foresees ISIS attempting an attack on the U.S. Then, the Oregon standoff comes to an end. After that, how the spy state is growing stronger. And a presidential candidate who pushes taxes seeks an endorsement from a man who doesn't pay any. That's next.
Enjoy yourselves. Believe that arch communist with his sickening rhetoric, knowing he's preying on people, Bernie Sanders. Knowing full well the ultra elite that he badmouths all day are financing the socialist revolution, are running the whole takeover. And why is that again? Because they are exempt from their... Clean, pure drinking water. You can't survive without it. But where do you get it? Alexa Pure Pro is a brand new, groundbreaking, gravity-fed water filtration system that is like no other. The Alexa Pure Pro transforms water from virtually any fresh source into clean, healthy drinking water, pairing the unprecedented superfiltration power of an all-new gravity block core with a hybrid chromatic shell. It removes up to 99.999% of impurities, including bacteria, viruses, fluoride, disinfectants, volatile organic contaminants, and hormones. Filter capacity up to 5,000 gallons. Stainless steel construction, easy assembly, low maintenance. Replacement filters are simple to install. And now, as part of an exclusive limited time introductory offer, you can save $20 off the retail price and get free shipping. This is a limited time offer, so order your unit today and receive free shipping and $20 off. Go to InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139.
Well, it is an election year, and it's an exceptionally popular election year. A lot of people are really involved. A lot of youth are out hitting the streets for Bernie Sanders. We also have, on the opposite end of the spectrum, a lot of people out there in support of Donald Trump. And of course, this scares the bejesus out of the establishment, who thought for sure that Hillary Clinton was a shoo-in. So whenever you see a lot of people involved in politics, a lot of revolutions on the rise, you can bet something is going to come along to terrorize the nation. So, of course, while all of our eyes were on New Hampshire on Tuesday, top intelligence officials were giving some testimony there in Congress. And, of course, terror is on the rise. These were top intelligence officials warning that ISIS was going to be attempting U.S. attacks this year. No doubt perfectly timed with the election, I bet. So this is Lieutenant General Vincent Stewart. He's the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency. He says ISIS will probably attempt to conduct additional attacks in Europe and attempt to direct attacks on the U.S. homeland in 2016. And the director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, which hasn't he been indicted on perjury yet? What's he still doing around? He warned that ISIS and its 8 branches were the #1 terrorist threat. You know, Obama called him the JV team, but, you know, I don't think they can get their story straight there in Washington. He said that they're the #1 threat and that they're using the refugee exodus from violence in Iraq and Syria to hide among innocent civilians in order to reach other countries. You don't say. He also added that they're pretty skilled at phony passports so they can travel ostensibly as legitimate travelers, which of course we reported on that many, many moons ago. Now this testimony follows James Clapper's release of the worldwide threat assessment of the U.S. intelligence community. And so, of course, he's also really worried about North Korea, and he cited their nuclear threat as well. He says North Korea has expanded its production of weapons-grade nuclear fuel, making it clear to the Obama administration that they're now regarded as the number one nuclear threat, much more so than Iran. He said he was expressing concern, of course, because of a January nuclear test by North Korea. And of course, they launched a satellite on the Saturday before the Super Bowl. You saw a lot of people tweeting about the fact that North Korea's satellite was actually being seen above the Super Bowl stadium. And Clapper says that the country is committed to developing a long-range nuclear-armed missile that's capable of posing a direct threat to the United States. Of course. And that's not all. He also was warning about threats from artificial intelligence. So this is another new security risk for the United States. He says implications of broader AI deployment includes increased vulnerability to cyber attack, difficulty in ascertaining attribution, facilitating advances in foreign weapon and intelligence systems, of course, accidents, liability, and the loss of jobs. So now, he didn't mention the fact that hackers have released, not only last year did they release a lot of information from the Office of Personnel Management there at the government, just on the largest, highest level there, hundreds of thousands of employees' personal information was released. But now, over the weekend, a hacker released even more sensitive information, names, titles, and contact information of nearly 30,000 FBI and Department of Homeland Security workers. Now, InfoWars reporter Mikhail Phelan was actually able to get an exclusive interview with this hacker. You can find that report online at Infowars.com. It's titled, Report: Hackers Leak Info on More Than 29,000 FBI DHS Employees. There are screenshots there of the Department of Justice information. All of that is embedded within that article. It doesn't appear that there is any sensitive data that has been released, but go to that article for some more information. But it's very interesting that James Clapper would single out the potential for vulnerabilities also in connected devices. Of course, talking about the vulnerability of the Internet of Things, when in fact, once again, it's our very own government that we have to be concerned about hacking into the Internet of Things. Because James Clapper also admits that the Internet of Things might be used to spy on you. Of course, we reported that many, many moons ago, and we have been called conspiracy theorists for that. James Clapper specifically said, in the future, intelligence services might use the Internet of Things for identification, surveillance, monitoring, location tracking, and targeting for recruitment, whatever that means, or to gain access to networks or user credentials. So he's saying they might do that, which of course this is James Clapper. No, he hasn't been indicted for lying there on the NSA. So this means they already are using people's Nest devices and other things in their smart homes. They're already probably using your Samsung TVs to go ahead and track you. We'll actually be talking about that later, how the BBC is now using that to read people's facial expressions to see how they're enjoying their programming specifically. But he also talks about the fact that cybersecurity is a major concern. Of course, the president released his fiscal 2017 budget, and they included a request for $19 billion for cybersecurity across the U.S. government. They need tighter cybersecurity because they know it's going to be a huge issue at the highest political level. But of course, for you and I, we are not allowed to have any encryption, nothing to protect us. All our data belongs to them. Now, of course, in his testimony, he warned about the role of Chinese cyber espionage against the U.S., and he noted that non-state actors such as ISIS are developing a cyber capability. Of course, this was to scare Congress into giving up this money, scare everyone into knowing that their smart devices are going to be hackable. And so, of course, how does one typically combat cybersecurity? With encryption, which is, of course, what the government is actively trying to do away with. And as tech companies have been pointing out to the government, you can't just provide backdoors and encryption just for the good guys. They can't just give the government a backdoor. If you weaken encryption to spy on citizens, you're offering a helping hand to others who might also want to infiltrate those weakened security systems. So let's see, there was one other person at a Berkman Center for Internet and Society report. This was out of Harvard University. And they also go on to point out how if the Internet of Things is going to have as much of an impact as predicted, the future is going to be even more laden with sensors that can be commandeered for law enforcement surveillance. And this is a world far apart from one in which opportunities for surveillance have gone dark. So it's vital to appreciate these trends and to make thoughtful decisions on how pervasively open to surveillance we think our built-in environments should be. Do we want all of these things in our home and foreign governments and by our companies who are offering these products that are transforming our personal spaces? Indeed. Now, I can tell you one person who has been pretty upset about the whole Internet of Things and wanting to circumvent the prying eyes of government surveillance, Hillary Clinton. Of course, now the Clinton Foundation has been hit with a subpoena last fall for documents related to projects that required the State Department's approval, as well as any records related to top Clinton aide, Huma Abedin. Now, David Knight has more on that.
At the top of the Drudge Report, now we have a new article that came out of the Washington Post. This came out in the last hour, talking about the Clinton Foundation getting a subpoena from State Department investigators. They say investigators of the State Department issued a subpoena to the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation last fall, seeking documents about the charity's projects that may have required approval from the federal government during Hillary Clinton's term as Secretary of State. This is from somebody who's familiar with the subpoena. Now, the interesting thing about it, too, is Huma Abedin, her very close personal assistant. We'll just leave it at that. Longtime aide, as it's put by the Washington Post, who for 6 months in 2012 was employed simultaneously, get this, employed simultaneously by the State Department, the Clinton Foundation, the Clintons' personal office, and a private consulting firm with ties to the Clintons. I mean, she's not double dipping, she's not triple dipping, she's quadruple dipping. Huma must be rich. You know, it's pretty amazing. Of course, her husband, remember her husband was Wiener in New York. And of course, she also has family ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. This is a very interesting character, Huma. Now, they say a foundation representative who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss the ongoing inquiry said the initial document request has been narrowed by investigators. The foundation's not the focus of the probe. And they say there's no indication that the watchdog is looking at Clinton. And Huma Abedin has declined comment. You know, I guess nobody is really being investigated by the subpoena. You know, it's like they're not looking at anybody. They just wanted to get some information, I guess, to look at because they had nothing better to do, even though this is an inspector general who is looking at this. Now, in the amount of time that we've got left, I started talking about this in the previous segment, this article from the Telegraph, and there was just so much in this when I looked at it. When they talk about the fact that this could destroy capitalism as we know it, let's understand that capitalism as we know it has to be redefined. When we talk about free trade, as they mention here, they say this could threaten the very survival of free trade, of globalization, of the market-based economy. Let's understand that free trade, as it's being sold to us, is not free trade. A 5,000-page document called the Trans-Pacific Partnership is not free trade. That's managed trade. And it's even worse because that document was written by corporate lawyers secretly, lobbyists, okay? It wasn't written by our legislators. It's not going to go through the approval process for a treaty. And it's going to turn over the management of our economy, because that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about something like trade. No, it's managing our economy. Who's going to get to sell what to who at what prices? It's going to turn all of that management over to a foreign international commission that we do not control, okay? So let's not talk about free trade. Let's not say that free trade has failed. Let's not say that free markets have failed when you prop up these crony capitalist banks when they pump and dump the real estate market. That's not capitalism as I know it. That's not any definition of capitalism. It's certainly not the free market, okay? And globalization is not capitalism either, okay? Let's understand that globalization is a move to establish a global governance, first by economic unity, then by political unity when they create economic crisis. Let's understand what's behind all of this. We have to understand that when they talk about it's going to destroy people's faith in the elites, it's like, yeah, I hope so. It's about time we wake up, understand what's behind this, understand that when they talk about free markets, when they talk about free trade, that's nonsense. What we need is real freedom. We need real liberty. We need free markets.
Well, Hillary Clinton is, of course, vying with Bernie Sanders for the black vote. So Bernie Sanders met with the Reverend Al Sharpton yesterday, and this was an apparent move to diversify his voting base.
Socialist presidential candidate Bernie Sanders is having breakfast in Harlem this morning with former coke dealer and FBI informant Reverend Al Sharpton. Sanders is hoping for an endorsement from Sharpton in hopes that it will boost his reputation among young black voters, who, according to recent poll numbers, overwhelmingly support Hillary Clinton. This morning's meeting with the Reverend Al is at Sylvia's Restaurant, the very same place that Barack Obama sat down with a preacher in 2008, and they've since become very close friends. In fact, Al Sharpton has somehow managed to get away with owing $4 million in back taxes to the IRS, perhaps because of his cozy relationship with the president. So how ironic is this? Bernie Sanders, a guy who wants to raise taxes, is having breakfast with a guy who doesn't pay them. And you can learn more right now at Infowars.com.
Now, coming up, we're going to re-air an in-depth report we did exposing who the real Al Sharpton is. But first, I'm going to be speaking with Joshua Cook. He's an associate producer of the mini-documentary CDC, Vaccines, and Autism. It exposes a massive corruption and cover-up within the CDC.
Recently, we've seen two top generals come out in support of a female draft. This, of course, is in addition to women joining frontline combat. So we're going to ask the people here today what they think about the roles of women in the military. We're asking people what they think about women in frontline combat.
Well, if they can do the job, great, you know. I don't have a problem with it.
Well, I'm glad I didn't have to be in frontline combat, but I think if someone wants it and is well prepared, that's fine.
I guess if they want to be. I mean, personal choice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should have the choice and option.
And frontline combat. That's a good one. I think anybody who wants to be in frontline combat should be allowed to.
I agree. I think it's their choice, but I don't think it's the government's choice to draft women, no.
I don't know. I haven't thought about it that much, to be honest.
Now, two top generals have recently said they'd be in favor of starting a draft for females. Would you be in favor of that?
I'm not really in favor of a draft.
Ditto.
I'd be in favor of that. Not a draft, but selective service.
Would you be in favor of a female draft?
No. I wouldn't.
Would you be in favor of a female draft?
Sure. I came through the draft period. I'm a Vietnam era veteran. I was also through the Gulf Wars and over in the Balkans. Yeah, I'm good with it.
I think it's ludicrous, but I'm not a top general.
Would you be in favor of a draft for women?
I gotta go with no.
I'm going no, too. No, don't feel comfortable with that.
You need us to procreate.
I'm not in favor of any draft.
We believe in win-win, folks, treating people like we want to be treated. That's why we develop nutraceuticals with Dr. Group and other top researchers, chemists, scientists, you name it. He's one of our advisors, to come up with products like Anthroplex that is an original product that he made just for us. And this is a base system to make super male or super female vitality work even better. It is natural. It just helps get your body pumping and going in the way you need to be going. And Dr. Group is here till we go to break to tell us about the latest product at InfoWarsLife.com, Anthroplex, that out of the gates, and we do this all the time with a new product, we discount it out of the gates to get you to try it, knowing that you're going to love it. It'll sell out. So InfoWarsLife.com, Anthroplex, 15% off and free shipping. for the next 2 days only when you get it with super male or female vitality. Let's go to Dr. Group. Why do you call this the foundation to start the fire, and then the super male takes you to the next level?
Well, we just look at the base problem that's going on right now all over the world, which is the endocrine disrupting chemicals, the amount of estrogen that men have, the femininity of men, and what's going on even in children right now with low testosterone levels, low sperm count levels, and the problems that and the attack that we're seeing on the endocrine systems of both male and female. So I'm always looking for ways to boost that and to make it more effective and naturally get the body to start producing these hormones and balancing themselves. So what we decided to do was, how can we add a few other components in there that would actually boost the effectiveness of the super male vitality and at the same time address different issues that the male might have, so it would be a full approach. And one of those was zinc. And zinc is actually necessary for the production of testosterone. There's more and more studies coming out that zinc is essential for hormone balancing.
What is in the goat weed? You've got one of the purest, strongest organic forms of it. What's so magic about the goat weed?
Well, the horny goat weed was given that name because years ago in India, they noticed that a certain time of the year, this weed would grow and the goats would eat it and they would just go crazy with all the female goats. So that's how it was developed. It's called epimedium. And what that's been proven to do over thousands of years is increase sexual pleasure, help balance the male hormones. It can actually be used for women as well. But it really kind of resets and brings the hormone balance, improves sperm motility, and increases testosterone levels.
So it counters the stuff they've been throwing at us. Results will vary overall. All I know is dynamite. I mean, absolutely dynamite with the stamina, with the weightlifting, with the swimming. Folks, the new product is available. Anthroplex, available at InfoWarsLife.com. Dr. Group, thank you for developing this amazing product.
Thank you.
It is one of the single most difficult issues to talk about in all of media: vaccines and autism. I have no doubt you've probably heard a lot on this subject. You have heard that there is proof that autism can be linked to some vaccines.
We have a whistleblower who has gone to Congress and said, please subpoena me, please get me under subpoena so I can tell the truth.
And you've also heard that there has never been a single bit of proof that autism is caused by vaccines.
It's less science and more speculation.
But what is the truth? The truth about autism, vaccines, and the CDC? This is a story of massive corruption within the very organization that's supposed to be the authority on this issue.
CDC needs to bring forth the individuals that lied.
You watch this story and I promise you will never see this issue the same way again, because the first step toward truth is to be informed.
So Joshua Cook is my guest today. He was an associate producer of this mini documentary, CDC, Vaccines and Autism. He's also a writer and reporter for Truth in Media. So Joshua, this piece, it explores a documented case of massive corruption within the CDC. So I want you to talk to me a little bit about this attempt to change some of the research there, the protocols. Ultimately, they were obstructing justice there. But this issue of vaccine-related autism, it continues to be highly controversial, and a lot of that is because there's conflicting science. So what do people need to understand about scientific findings, especially in light of what this documentary brings to light?
Yes, Leanne, and thank you so much for allowing me to come on the show, because this is an issue that the mainstream media will not talk about. They won't touch it. And that's why we felt that it was very important to do a mini documentary on this issue. And let me say this, that what we discovered and what we tried to come across in the documentary is really, it's not about theory, it's not about some conspiracy theory, it's documented evidence that there was a cover-up and massive corruption at the CDC. So if I can walk you through, back in the late 1990s, a lot of people in the medical community were doing studies to see if there was any type of correlation between the measles vaccine and the increases of autism that were basically documented cases in the US. So the CDC wanted to do their own study. And there was a Dr. William Thompson that conducted a team of other scientists at the CDC to look into this. Now, they came out in 2004 in a journal of pediatrics, basically saying that we discovered that there were no correlation. And for a lot of people, that really settled the debate. The government has spoken, there's nothing to see here, please move on. But that was until 2014, where the same scientist, Dr. William Thompson, came out, hired a whistleblower attorney, and released thousands of documents to Congress. And actually, we were the first news organization to get those documents, and we were able to do this documentary based on that.
So talk to me a little bit about what did Dr. William Thompson find, and what were some of the deceptions being used to hide this evidence?
Yeah, so he actually did find very important information in his study. First of all, he did find a correlation between the measles vaccine and autism in two groups. One was Black males before the age of 36 months. The other group was isolated autism. Those are very important information. Now, Dr. Thompson actually did try to go forward to the head of CDC to tell her what he discovered. He was suspended for doing so. He also tried to go to the Medical Institute to give a speech about what he found, and basically was shut down. He was taken off the guest list to speak, and Dr. Chen, his supervisor, went in his place. Now, the thousands of documents that you can actually download on truthandmedia.com is fascinating to read the HR memos. There was even a shouting match between Dr. Chen and Dr. Thompson of why they didn't want Dr. Thompson to go forward. And there was a situation where they wanted to destroy the documents, to shred the documents so that the public would not know about this important information.
Right, and we actually have Representative Bill Posey. You show him in this documentary. He's there in front of Congress saying, why would they do this? Why would they try to hide any evidence that there was, race involved with this? Or what is the issue? Why wouldn't they want this knowledge to come forward, to be made public?
Well, in speaking to Dr. Posey, a lot of it has to do with money. You're talking about the CDC. This is how they're funded. They don't want to lose funding. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons. Think about it, the CDC is basically funded by Congress, and who controls Congress? Pharmaceutical companies. So we don't really go into that in the documentary, but we really want the public to know that how can you trust the CDC at this point? If they lie about this study, which is very important, what other things are they lying about? What other studies are they trying to falsify? And this is not us coming up with this. Dr. Thompson confessed in 2014 that 2004 report in the Journal of Pediatrics was totally false. I mean, they changed the protocol 16 to 17 times to skew the facts so they can say there were no correlations. So I think it's very important for the public to watch the documentary, decide for themselves, read the documents that was released by this whistleblower. I think this is very important information that people should really look at because this is a very important issue.
Right, and that's what people will learn by watching this documentary. They changed the protocols. They set up a certain set of protocols so that would sort of help their case. And then as they continued on with this, it wasn't working. So they changed this set of protocols 16, 17 times, and then just tried to hide that knowledge altogether. And then, like you learn in this documentary, they had about 4 people come together to shred the evidence. Of course, someone held on to the hard documents. But the issue with this, of course, obviously vaccines are not going to be bad for everyone. We know that they're not entirely terrible. That's not the point. But for some people, they are harmful. And that's the issue here. You all spoke with some former CDC employees who they say that there's always an acceptable rate of vaccine failure. For instance, 1 in 800,000 people receiving the polio vaccine, someone will actually get polio. But when it comes to finding the acceptable casualty rate with autism, vaccine-related autism, there is no findings there, because something like this, like you uncover, it's still being investigated. So what can people do?
Right, and let me state that. We tried to reach out to the CDC to get their statement on this. We were trying to talk to Dr. William Thompson. They said, well, it's under investigation, we can't make any comments. Now, the 2 reactions that we got after releasing this documentary are really from 2 different groups. One are like internet trolls, people who use ad hominem attacks to say, I can't believe you guys would come out with this documentary. The other side, the other reaction, are hundreds of people who've called me and who's emailed me thanking us for coming out with this important information. Because there again, the media won't touch this topic. And I think it's very important. And thank you again for having me on the show. This is so important. And I would just encourage everybody to contact their congressman and demand transparency to the CDC, because it's totally become politicized, and it shouldn't be. This is a organization that is supposed to be the authority on issues like this, and it's obvious that they can't be trusted to tell the truth.
Absolutely. And like you say, this is not some witch hunt. This isn't to get into the debate of do vaccines cause autism or not. This is about actual documented case of corruption. You guys have all the documents there. Alex Jones loves to say, look at the documents for yourself. You guys link them all right there, and we'll be sure to link them as well underneath this video. And that's just it. The CDC is supposed to be there, supposed to be protecting us all. And here, they've been investigating this for such a long time that people are being injured, potentially by these vaccines. Well, Joshua Cook, thank you so much. You're writer, reporter for Truth in Media. The documentary is CDC, Vaccines, and Autism. You can find it there. We appreciate you so much for speaking out. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
And as the evidence shows, the risk from vaccine-related injury lowers after the 24-month threshold. And like we always say, read the damn insert.
This is Bernie Sanders, and I'm quite upset. If you guys saw the Iowa caucus the other night, you would know that I worked extremely hard for these votes. And the people that were working in the Iowa caucus took what I worked hard for and gave it to someone else. A lying, cheating, horrible human being by the name of Hillary Clinton. And I don't understand how anybody could like something like this. That you work hard for something your whole life and you earn something, and then you're expected to give it to someone else who's not as deserving and is too lazy or more of a piece of crap than you are. What kind of person would even think about something like that?
Hey, that'd be you, Bernie Sanders. Guess you just felt the burn. You can find more reports like this at Infowars.com. I'm Joe Biggs.
The knowledge of the ancients, tried and true, trusted herbs and extracts fused with the latest nutraceutical science. Introducing the all-new Ancient Defense Herbal Immunity Blend, crafted with over 14 key ancient herbs and extracts to supercharge and prepare your body for what experts admit is the most dangerous season of the year. We have rejected hundreds of other formulations in our quest to bring you what is simply the most powerful and comprehensive proprietary formula that we have ever created in the realm of herbal immunity. For the last 2 years, our team has been working with top doctors, nutritionists, and chemists to develop the ultimate nutraceutical formulation. Experience the benefits of combining over 14 ancient herbs and extracts with exciting new advances in nutraceutical science. Now is the time to secure Ancient Defense for you and your family. Visit ancientdefense.com or call 888-253-3139. That's ancientdefense.com.
General, what do you think about the FBI saying that there was a terror alert on Monday about a potential Fort Hood situation?
The police are shoving people, shoving Alex, shoving the crowd.
Here we go, folks. I'm being assaulted. Whether it's the radio show, the news websites, documentary films, or the nightly news, InfoWars is the tip of the spear.
Is this another false flag stage attack to take our civil liberties and put more homeland security while sticking their hands down on pants on the streets?
It's up to us to set brush fires in the minds of men and women everywhere, and that's what PrisonPlanet.tv is designed to do.
You watch, the Assad regime is going to be blamed or accused of using chemical weapons against the so-called rebels.
What we see now is a war against reality. It's a war against the truth.
It's more vital than ever that supporters of freedom become members of PrisonPlanet.tv and share their membership with up to 11 friends and family. Visit InfoWarsNews.com today. Become a member, share your membership, and help take the InfoWar to the next level. InfoWars Life and InfoWarsLife.com is extremely excited to announce our latest release, Winter Sun, a revolutionary type of vitamin D3. Winter Sun is a premium quality vitamin D3 nutritional supplement. It is produced by extracting oil from healthy, nutrient-dense plants known as lichens. Every batch is analyzed for purity and D3 content. It's completely free of toxins and allergens. Visit InfoWars.com today or call 888-253-3139.
Well, it looks like the Reverend Al Sharpton is about to make his internet debut, so to speak, as he is getting ready to launch a media watchdog group called The Shift Daily. They're media watchdogs, and they're going to set the record straight. Apparently, this is a group that is going to look for any wrongdoing on the internet, and they are taking aim at conservatives who report on politics on the web. And it will offer an online counterattack against those who dare criticize our Lord and Savior, Barack Obama.
Giving honor to God and our Lord and Savior, Barack Obama. Barack Obama. Y'all stand up right now. You gotta.
Thank you, Jamie Foxx. That was inspirational. And I think it really sets the tone for what we can expect to see on Al Sharpton's blog. A total Obama love fest. After all, it has done wonders for Al Sharpton's career. And, when you think about it, Al Sharpton's come a long way since his days as a cocaine dealer and FBI informant. And I bet a lot of you haven't heard about all that. Al Sharpton, drug dealer turned snitch who ratted out his friends in the mob. And if you haven't heard about all this, you are in luck, because I'm about to tell you the whole story. So pull up a bar stool and let me tell you the tale of the chronic master race baiter, Al Sharpton. Since the Obama administration took over the White House, there has been a resurgence of civil rights activist Al Sharpton, one of Barack Obama's loudest cheerleaders. The Reverend now has his own TV show on MSNBC. He has his own talk radio show, a best-selling book, and is a regular at the White House. He hangs out with Obama's aides and cabinet members, members of Congress, business executives, military leaders, and the president himself. In fact, Sharpton had a choice seat for the president's inauguration. He attended Michelle Obama's 50th birthday party and even watched the Super Bowl with the Obama family. The president has sought the man's counsel and has embraced him publicly. But what most people don't know about the Reverend Al Sharpton is that he was once a cocaine dealer who turned into an FBI informant after federal agents caught him on camera negotiating a coke deal. Rather than face criminal charges, the Reverend panicked and agreed to become a snitch for the FBI.
I mean, the guy is a complete joke. He is a race pimp and just a complete fraud. It's just so perfect that they're reporting this about him, because I'll guarantee you he was reporting on black people. I will guarantee you he wasn't allowed to pull the shenanigans he pulled and create the political diversions where he was acting like he was fighting the political establishment in New York without some serious backing.
In April of 2014, The Smoking Gun released a lengthy investigation that uncovered remarkable details about Sharpton's past work as an informant for a joint organized crime task force comprised of FBI agents and NYPD detectives, as well as his dealings with an assortment of wise guys. Before hanging out at the White House, Sharpton surrounded himself with powerful mob bosses, mafia figures with nicknames like Benny Eggs, Baldy Dom, and The Chin. Once he was flipped by the FBI, he ratted these guys out and even helped take down the Genovese crime family, the largest mafia outfit in the country.
Early this morning, North Jersey, Operation Intrepid is underway. Tommy Pee Wee DePhillips arrested at his home. One of 41 alleged leaders and associates of the Genovese organized crime family operating in northern New Jersey that were rounded up today by New Jersey State Police. Toronto and the others are charged with running a $1 million a week racketeering operation centered in, but not limited to, the Newark area. Using bugs and a video camera, cops were able to see and record the group's daily activities, which included at times running a casino there. The grand jury has been hearing evidence against the Toronto faction, and indictments are expected.
While secretly working for the FBI, Al Sharpton became a well-known civil rights activist and public figure. He received widespread media attention and national recognition in the late 1980s for his role in the Tawana Brawley rape allegations, after a 15-year-old teenager claimed she was gang raped by a group of white police officers.
Tawana Brawley is a 16-year-old girl whose story is the talk of New York these days. The New York State teenager who claims that she was abducted and raped by 6 white men.
Tawana Brawley became a household name, and Al Sharpton became her spokesperson.
We want to show the world how low down, doggish, and callous the state of New York is.
The case quickly generated a national media sensation because of her age, the persons accused, and the shocking state in which Brawley was found after her alleged rape.
Tawana Brawley said they left her nearly dead. A gang of white men who raped her and scrawled racial epithets on her body. A hideous story, and all this year, her family and her advisors have embellished it and refused to cooperate with an investigation they say is a cover-up.
But it wasn't long before a grand jury determined that the entire story was a hoax. Tawana Brawley fabricated her claims to avoid punishment for staying out late. There was no evidence of her being kidnapped and 0 forensic evidence of any kind of sexual attack.
I have not deceived my family, my advisors, and most of all, my people.
The accused were completely exonerated, and Tawana Brawley's attorneys lost their license to practice law.
In and around the area of America, civil rights has been seriously damaged. I think that Maddox and Mason, two of the most cynically evil characters to have ever operated or pretend to operate under civil rights banner. The Reverend Sharpton has done some good things in the past. I feel very bad for him that he allowed himself to be so deeply involved in the fraud.
No justice! No justice! No justice!
The public has been had. I mean, he did it good. They've been had.
That's a lot of crap. Now, look, brother, you have your time. That's a lot of crap. Brother, hell no. I got it. Oh, hell no.
Sharpton and people like him are known historically for constantly trying to play on our differences rather than our commonalities.
Hit it!
The Reverend Al Sharpton is now accused of not paying taxes and stealing $250,000 from a charity group.
In Manhattan Supreme Court, Reverend Sharpton was formally accused of taking in more than $250,000 for his national youth movement. The money allegedly was donated over a 3-year period to support youth programs, but State Attorney General Robert Abrams says lots of that cash went into Al Sharpton's pocket.
So many charges that Dr. King had. Same charges gone. Where's all of the mob money? Where's the tickets go? This is disappointing. I thought we could do better. What about not filing for taxes? Hear me now. Black people don't owe no taxes. We ain't got no rights. They like my hair.
The public is manipulated, and people like Al Sharpton, opportunists, blood-sucking opportunists, are the ones who do it.
I was not and am not a rat.
Al Sharpton was a cocaine-dealing wannabe thug, you know, and he flipped over to the FBI only to save his own ass. And now that the cat is out of the bag, or the rat is out of the bag, I guess you could say, he has taken this position where he is publicly portraying himself as some sort of Elliot Ness.
Look how he's rewarded. This guy has been rewarded big time, and on top of that is shown as being, quote, a leader. He's a misleader.
For longtime observers of Al Sharpton's checkered past and criminal activities, it remains a mystery how he is still a prominent figure in the national spotlight. One has to wonder if he ever fully escaped the grip of the FBI, or if he has now become an agent provocateur for the globalist. After all, Al Sharpton has secured his role as an antagonist and a race baiter for the Obama administration.
Nice try, but we got you.
Brain Force is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been on this the last few months. You probably noticed I've been more crazed, more focused, less brain fog, more energy, more special reports, and it's because of Brain Force.
One of the worst things with most energy products is it's not sustainable, right? You're gonna crash, you're gonna feel really bad afterwards. This has a bunch of different antioxidants and compounds and polyphenols.
Everybody's on these drugs to knock their brain out because the brain's so fried.
We kept changing this formula over and over and over again until it became sort of a grand puzzle. For example, the L-theanine inside of it, that is activated by the different compounds in the yerba mate that we put inside of it as well. This just increases the compounds you already have.
This is what you're actually designed to run on.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a car will run on one form of junkie gas, but it runs really good on what it's designed for. You will find Brain Force, Survival Shield X2, and other game-changing products at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139. Introducing Secret 12, the new InfoWars Life vitamin B12 formulation. Most forms of vitamin B12 are highly processed and synthetic and could not be properly absorbed by the body. That's why for real results, so many are having to turn to painful B12 injections, which are known to have higher absorption rates. Now, InfoWarsLife.com is excited to announce that we can bring you our most bioactive, powerful form of B12 that has been developed with our exclusive perfected process. Secret 12 is a binary of nutramedical grade, bioavailable coenzyme forms of B12, methylcobalamin, the same kind used in B12 injections, and adenosylcobalamin. Secret 12 is simply taken by mouth, right on the tongue, and then swallowed. No needles, no injections. Don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself. Discover the secret. Secret 12. Secure your revolutionary Secret 12 formula right now at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
Well, earlier this week, James Clapper explained how the Internet of Things would be used to spy on you by the intelligence community. And now the BBC has come out to say that they're going to be using face scanning technology to spy on their viewers. They hope that it can shed some light on their viewers' tastes. Now, the BBC is pressing ahead with plans to utilize new facial coding technology, and this will reveal viewers' subconscious emotional attachment to programs. So it uses cameras to record individuals' facial expressions and their actions. They're recorded on a second-by-second basis, and the results are divided into 6 possible emotions: sadness, puzzlement, happiness, fear, rejection, and surprise. And the cameras are going to allow researchers to measure the often subconscious responses people have to visual content. So they've already had a pilot experiment running with about 5,000 people being measured with their conscious and subconscious emotional responses to marketing campaigns. You know, and you thought those TVs hidden in your Samsung were just for the we. At least that's what the TV makers tried to sell us on. No, it's because in the future, the Internet of Things will be spying on you, and it'll be advertisers as well as intelligence agencies. Now, of course, this trial has prompted viewers there to say, well, the BBC is probably going to be using this webcam technology to spy on people's living rooms and assess how diligently they're watching the programs. But the BBC assures everyone, oh, they're just going to be using this to serve audiences by gaining a greater understanding of their tastes. And as one of our info warriors out there submitted for one of our contests, they had a great movie showing exactly how this would take place. There was a couple fighting in their living room, and so all of a sudden a commercial for Xanax or Valium popped up on the program to let this fighting couple know what would serve them better from Big Brother. But that's not it. Big Brother is also seeking to get into your child's head, literally. Now, I reported on this last year, but this is an article out of the New American. With help and funding from the federal government, backed by the U.S. Department of Education, these are tools that are already being deployed in education. But now they're going to be using tools to monitor and track everything from children's mindsets and attitudes to their emotions and cognitive processes. So there's an article out of Education Week, and they're putting it with a smiley face of how great this is. It's going to provide personalized learning experiences, and it'll target students' individual emotions, cognitive processes, mindsets, and character and personality traits. So obviously, they point out that the Education Week is completely oblivious to the fact that entering students' minds under the pretext of educating them is kind of frightening and very Big Brother-ish. And of course, it's frightening to see how Big Brother's capabilities are growing. Now, aside from just one minor mention of privacy concerns, it's very glowing, and they don't even question the fact of whether parents may or may not want their children's mindsets to be tracked and assessed. And so they also point out how the federal government is unsurprisingly behind this push. And this was released in the National Education Technology Plan by the Obama administrations, and they're touting their agenda to blend technology and learning in potentially abusive ways. Students will do much of their learning on devices, followed by assessments, which would be used to manipulate children, even to the point of altering their personalities. So it outlines how these technology-based assessments are being and will be used to measure a broader range of desired educational outcomes, especially non-cognitive competencies, which include a range of skills, habits, and attitudes that facilitate functioning well in school, work, and life. So Big Brother is going to be using these assessments to measure the attitudes of your child. Is that not frightening? And of course, we're already starting to see this roll out. We've seen it on Facebook and now, of course, Twitter. Are they now censoring non-politically correct viewpoints? They just announced their brand new Twitter Trust and Safety Council, which sounds more like a ministry of truth to me. It includes more than 40 organizations. Now, today on the Alex Jones Show, David Knight spoke with Brad Dacus of the Pacific Justice Institute. He was on the show to talk about how San Diego was trying to ban the term founding fathers.
It was reported by WND, I think they were the first ones to break this a couple of days ago, that the city of San Diego had put out a new guidelines for their employees saying that you can't utter the phrase founding fathers. They had a lot of other things in their bias-free language guide. They had things like the common man, mankind, man-made, man up. Those are things that they had in their manual. Can I say that? Can I say manual? I don't know. It's got the word man in it. And they said that this is their bias-free language. Let me tell you something. They've got a bias problem themselves. They seem to be obsessed with the term man, anything that is masculine. So let's get the comments from Brad Dacus, president of the Pacific Justice Institute, who fired off a letter, and we got some results from that. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Dacus.
Oh, my pleasure, Alex. Thanks for the opportunity.
We had, Alex isn't here, I'm David, but it was interesting when you talked about this, you said, if you can't utter the phrase founding fathers without losing your job when you work for the government, it's a sad day for free speech. And of course, their timing was extremely bad as well, coming just a couple of days before President's Day.
Yeah, this is terrible timing. Here we're about to recognize the founding fathers and for the sacrifice that they put forth, so we have our constitutional freedoms and our constitutional rights, like the First Amendment, free speech. And at the same time, here they're coming down with this kind of policies to prohibitions of speech, including the term founding fathers. Of course, we at Pacific Justice Institute, we saw this for what it was. We sent a demand letter to the city, and we're glad that they have rescinded that prohibition on mentioning the term founding fathers. That's good. But as you alluded to,
it's amazing that you've got to do that, right? You wouldn't think. It's kind of insane that you would have to send them a letter and say, you know what, you shouldn't try to ban the term founding fathers. But that's the kind of insane society that we live in now, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's more than 1,500 court decisions where the phrase founding fathers has been mentioned. And it's treated like it's some kind of a cuss word is really I don't know how to say it, twisted, and yet this was being implemented. This wasn't just a hypothetical idea.
Yes,
this was in writing, and that the directive was given to all employees. And if they didn't comply, they could lose their job.
That's right. That was in their manual. Do they have a different term for the term manual? Because I find that offensive. It's got the term man in it. I mean, haven't they come up with a gender-neutral term for manual?
Yeah, that's interesting. I see the hypocrisy right there. It's very ironic.
Man-made, man-up, mankind. They can't talk about any of that stuff. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah. And also, I think people need to understand, as far as rationally why it makes no sense, is if they look at the Webster's dictionary and how these words are defined, they're not defined in the sense of exclusively to one gender or the other. Yeah. They never have been, and yet they're trying to read something into a word that's not there. So it's really a sort of an obsession. It's almost something I think that maybe counseling is needed.
It quite clearly is an obsession, and it is a political tool. I mean, we just saw this last week. We had Gloria Steinem, we had Madeleine Albright come out and do what Ann Taylor Fleming, writing for Reuters, said was vote shaming, slut shaming, and said that it was essentially the same thing, saying if you don't support Hillary Clinton, you're not a real feminist, you have betrayed women and so forth and so on, and make all kinds of insinuations about people supporting Bernie Sanders because they wanted to get dates with young boys, things like that. I mean, just shaming them over their political choice within the Democrat Party. It is a political tactic. It is a tool used to control people, and we need to understand that. I mean, it's not an idiotic obsession. John Cleese was talking about how you could no longer criticize anybody, and it was a shame because that's the essence of comedy. Comedy is always going to have some kind of implied criticism with people. And he said, there's kind of a psychological condition about it, but it's not just a psychological condition. It is a tool of social control. It is a tool of kind of a Marxist tool of social control, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. If government can control the speech of man and women, if government can control this.
That's it for the show tonight. We'll see you here again tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central.
Knockout is back. If you want a product that has 10 known ingredients that naturally get your body to relax, your brain to relax, so you get deep, restful sleep, Knockout's it. InfoWarsLife.com. L-theanine, hops flower extract, lemon balm extract, valerian root extract, chamomile flower extract, L-tryptophan extract, melatonin, and more. All organic, all the natural sources. It's the same price as leading brands of melatonin that are 3 milligrams a piece. It has 3 milligrams, the standard recommended dose for an adult, and it just synergistically puts everything in there. InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com, or call 888-253-3139.
You are watching the InfoWars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. And your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.